welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host, Shivangi Mishra. Let's begin with the headlines first. India's Surat shines as global diamond hub and lab-grown gem pioneer. Bangladeshis at Myanmar border face uncertain future. And flash floods wreak havoc in Darel Valley in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan. Let's begin the show. Surat, in the western Indian state of Gujarat, is the global diamond hub. It is known for cutting and polishing about 90% of the world's diamonds with its skilled craftsmanship and advanced technology. Green Labs in Surat has recently gained attention for producing lab-grown diamonds, also known as green diamonds. These diamonds, identical in properties to mined ones, are available at 1/10 the cost. The innovation is driving growth in the Indian diamond industry.
A symbol of eternal love, diamonds are some of the most expensive jewelry in the world. If you're lucky to own this precious gemstone, chances are it came through Surat, the western port city in India, which serves as a mega workshop where 90% of the world's diamonds are cut and polished. Surat plays a significant role in the industry as a major contributor to India's gem and jewelry exports, contributing to approximately $40 billion in exports. Giving a further push to the industry, the city is now home to the world's largest trading center of diamonds, the Surat Diamond Bourse. Spread across 35.54 acres with 6.7 million square feet of built-up area, the center encompasses 4,500 offices for national and international traders. Dinesh Navadia, the regional chairman of the Gem and Jewelry Export Promotion Council and president of the Surat Diamond Association, believes it to be a great milestone for the country and sees it as playing a pivotal role in job generation and further bolstering the Indian economy.
जो सूरत डायमंड बूस यहाँ सूरत के अंदर बिल्डिंग बना है, वो ऐसे देखें तो दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा ट्रेडिंग सेंटर है। और आज तक एक कमी थी इंडिया के भारत के अंदर कि अपने यहाँ अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, लेकिन हम आज दावा के साथ कह सकते हैं कि दुबई और अमेरिका से भी अच्छा कंस्ट्रक्शन और लुक वाइज या इंटीरियर फैसिलिटी के वाइज ये बिल्डिंग दुनिया का सबसे अच्छा बिल्डिंग ट्रेडिंग के लिए है। और जो फ्यूचर है डायमंड इंडस्ट्री का, आज हम देखें तो 1960 से कंटिन्यूटी कट एंड पॉलिश का कारोबार यहाँ हो रहा है और इसमें ग्रोथ ही देख रहे हैं हम। और ग्रोथ जो पहले कम था, आज हम 42 बिलियन तक हमारा एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ गया था, लेकिन इंटरनेशनल मार्केट के कारण कभी माइनस और डाउन होता है और फिर से वो प्लस हो जाता है।
All heads turned to India when its Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented a 7.5 carat green diamond to the US First Lady, Jill Biden, during a state visit last year. What was so special about this diamond and why was it called green? To answer this, let's visit Green Labs in Surat, a facility that produces diamonds at a cost of about 1/10 of the rough diamonds imported to India from the big mines of Russia, Canada, and in many African nations. In a stride towards sustainability and reducing India's carbon footprint, Green Lab is revolutionizing the industry with its diamonds. These are produced, cut, and polished all around one roof. The diamonds produced in the Green Lab facility showcase the chemical and optical properties same as earth mine diamonds and emit a mere amount of 0.02 grams of carbon per carat. The prestigious International Gemological Institute has certified these diamonds on 4C cut, color, carat and clarity.
Green Lab, we have one of the largest facilities in the world, as we are the largest exporter of lab-grown diamonds, which is CVD lab-grown diamonds throughout India. And we hold a capacity of more than 250,000 carats of rough every month and more than 100,000 carat of polish that we export and supply to the Indian market.
Sanket Patel, director at Green Labs, claims their facility to be the largest exporter of lab-grown diamonds in India with a production of over 2 lakh carats a month.
आज एक नई अपॉर्चुनिटी क्रिएट हुई है, क्योंकि नेचुरल डायमंड के अंदर हम 100% रॉ मटेरियल इंपोर्ट करते हैं और उसका कट एंड पॉलिश लेबर करके प्लस करके हम एक्सपोर्ट कर देते हैं। लेकिन ये CVD डायमंड के कारण आज हम रब भी हम प्रोडक्शन करेंगे, कट एंड पॉलिश भी हम बनाएंगे और ज्वेलरी भी हम बनाएंगे। तो मेक इन इंडिया का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है प्रधानमंत्री जी का, वो 100% इसमें सेट होता है और फिट भी होता है।
Lab-grown diamonds are gaining popularity globally due to their affordability and ethical appeal. The global market shares of lab-grown gems surged from 3.5% in 2018 to 18.5% in 2023. Industry analysts predict that this share will likely exceed 20% in the year 2024 to 25. Recognizing the immense potential in the sector, the Indian diamond industry is anticipating a much larger growth in coming years.
People have been comfortable buying lab-grown diamonds now. When we see mined diamonds, the ratio of purchasing of mined diamonds was probably 3 to 4%, roughly about, exactly I couldn't say, but 3 to 4% worldwide. And what we predict with lab-grown diamond is penetrating more than 10 to 15% of the world's population. So obviously this diamond is going to be for a long time, and it's the same thing, and people are going to be wearing it much more often.
The bustling diamond industry of Surat is ushering into a new sector of lab-grown diamonds. Merchants dealing in mined diamonds do not see the lab-grown diamond industry as a market disruptor, but rather as a parallel industry that complements the traditional diamond cutting and polishing businesses in Surat. Be it lab-grown diamonds or mined diamonds, the skilled artisans of Surat ensure immaculate work and will continue to maintain its luster for now and forever.
Life for Bangladeshis living along the border with Myanmar's Rakhine state has become tense and frightful as fighting intensifies between Myanmar's ruling junta and separatist forces. The conflict escalated after a ceasefire between the Arakan army and the junta broke down last year. Border residents in Bangladesh have expressed concern over frequent skirmishes, bombings and shelling which have shaken their fishing village community.
Living along the border with Myanmar's Rakhine state has become increasingly perilous for Bangladeshis as intensified fighting between Myanmar's ruling junta and separatist forces cast a shadow over their daily lives. Since the breakdown of the ceasefire between the Arakan army and the Myanmar junta late last year, the conflict has surged, bringing warships close to Bangladesh's St. Martin's Island and escalating tensions in border towns like Teknaf and Naikhongchari. The sight of the Arakan army's red flags on Myanmar's border security posts and sound of regular skirmishes, bombings and shelling have left the local fishing communities in a state of fear and uncertainty.
গুলির আওয়াজ খুব বেশি অনেক বেশি আজ্ঞা তো বোমা বোমা মারিছে বেশি খুব বেশি অনেক বেশি বুঝনে তো তুই আর একবারে খুব বেশি ঠাই নেওয়ার মান
In Naikhongchari town, several Myanmar's border security posts were seen hosting the Arakan army's red flag across the barbed wire fences. Bangladeshis living in the southern town of Teknaf, which borders Myanmar, expressed concerns about regular skirmishes with bombings and shellings in the Rakhine that have shaken the fishing village community living there. The once peaceful routines are now filled with anxiety and fear.
তখন জাহাজগুলো দেখা যাচ্ছে আর উপর দিয়ে উড়োজাহাজও প্রায় সময় আসে একেবারে তারা মানে কি গোলাবারুদ ওখানে তো হয়েছে কিন্তু এখানে আমরা একেবারে আতঙ্কিত যে এখানে আমরা যে ঘুমের মধ্যেও চমকে উঠি অনেক সময় এরকম হয়ে থাকে বুঝছেন খুবই কষ্টের মধ্যে আছে আমরা তাদের ভয়াবহ অবস্থা দেখে কোন সময় এসে আমাদের এখানে কি হয় এটা নিয়েও তো আমরা দুশ্চিন্তার মধ্যে আছি
In the Bay of Bengal, where authorities ban fishing several times a year to replenish wild fish stocks, villagers are fearful that they will soon have to face a new influx of Rohingya refugees when the current 2-month fishing embargo ends in July, giving poor Bangladeshi fishermen the opportunity to smuggle escaping refugees in exchange for some quick cash. The persistent conflict, coupled with economic challenges and the looming threat of a refugee crisis, underscores the urgent need for a sustainable resolution to the strife in Rakhine to ensure the safety and stability of the border communities.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Pakistan's port city Karachi continued to reel under intense heat with residents trying to cool off. Volunteers set up stalls on the streets providing water and sugarcane juice to help people cool as they travelled. Chief meteorologist Sardar Sarfaraz called the phenomenon a partial heat wave. According to Regional Meteorological Centre, Karachi, the temperatures reached 41.3 degrees Celsius but were amplified to feel like 49 degrees Celsius due to humid conditions on June 25. Lebanese authorities organized a tour for foreign diplomats and media outlets around Beirut Rafiq Hariri International Airport, showing air cargo facilities. The tour came a day after a news outlet reported that Hezbollah has been storing missiles and explosives at Lebanon's main airport. Lebanese caretaker Minister of Public Works and Transport Ali Hami, a Hezbollah ally, held a news conference denying the report and invited diplomats and journalists to Monday's tour. Hezbollah and Israel have been trading fire for more than 8 months in parallel with the Gaza war. Having missed the men's gymnastics team title by a hair at Tokyo 2020, Japan is determined to beat their biggest rival China to take gold in Paris, setting it as their number one priority with 1 month to go until the games. 3 years ago, the Russians bested Japan by 0.103 points, a silver of a number that etched itself into the minds of the 3 Japanese gymnasts and their head coach, who will be returning to the Olympics looking for revenge. Revenge may not taste as sweet though, as Japan and China will battle it out without Russia after the International Olympic Committee banned the country from taking part in team events over the war in Ukraine. The 3 powerhouses have claimed every men's team gold since the 1952 Helsinki Olympics, with the exception of the Soviet boycotted 1984 Los Angeles Games when the United States took the title. A victory by Japan would extend the world record it holds to 8 team golds, and its athletes said they had every confidence to do so thanks to a well-balanced team and their superior collective D score or difficulty score over China.
Moving on, the recent flash floods in the Dareel Valley in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan have wreaked havoc in the region. The residents are now cut off from the main towns as the sole road connecting Dareel to other regions is severely impacted. With temperatures expected to be 4 to 6 degrees higher than normal, the risk of flash floods and glacial lake outburst floods is increasing in the region. Poor emergency response capabilities of the administration are further exacerbating the region's vulnerability. We have a report.
Recently, a sudden flash flood wreaked havoc in the Dareel Valley in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan, devastating the road infrastructure and causing extensive damage to both public and private properties. The road, which used to serve as the sole lifeline connecting Dareel to other towns, is severely impacted, leaving the community cut off from the center towns.
रात को ये फ्लैश फ्लड की वजह से यहाँ पे रोड और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तबाह हो गया है, जिसमें लोगों ने डैम साइड पे जो मकानात बनाए थे वो भी तबाह हुए हैं। ड्रिंकिंग वाटर फैसिलिटी और यहाँ की इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कनेक्शन वो सारे कट गए हैं। उसके अलावा माल मवेशी इनके नीचे दब के मर गई है। 1-2 गाड़ियाँ भी जद में आई हैं और यहाँ लोगों का बहुत बड़ा हुजूम जमा है जो ईद गुजारने के लिए आ रहे थे। और बहुत सारे हमारे किसान हजरात के जो मटर अभी तैयार हुई थी वो मार्केट तक ले जाने के लिए यही एक सिंगल रोड है हमारे पास, ये बंद हुआ था।
With temperatures in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan expected to be 4 to 6 degrees higher than normal, the risk of flash floods and glacial lake outburst floods is on the rise. Infrastructure in POGB, particularly in remote areas, is often inadequate and poorly equipped to withstand the impact of flash floods. Roads, bridges and drainage systems have not been designed to handle the volume of water and debris accompanying such disasters. This lack of resilient infrastructure exacerbates the vulnerability of local communities during times of natural calamities.
देखिए, क्लाइमेट चेंज के बहुत ही बुरे असरात पड़ रहे हैं गिलगित बल्तिस्तान पे। सबसे पहले तो ये देखें कि जो फ्लड का रिस्क है वो बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया, फ्लैश फ्लड्स। फिर ग्लेशियर मेल्ट्स हो रहे हैं जिसकी वजह से ग्लेशियर लेक्स जो है, जो ग्लेशियर के नीचे झीलें होती हैं, उनकी आउटबर्स्ट हो रही है, वो फट रही हैं और वो फटने से जो है तूफ़ानी किस्म के सैलाब जो है वो पैदा होते हैं। फिर ना सिर्फ ये बल्कि वो जब ग्लेशियर फटता है तो वो डिस्ट्रक्शन करता है और फ्लड्स जो है वो डिस्ट्रक्शन करते हैं। कल्टीवेबल लैंड जो है, यानी जहाँ पे अनाज बोया जाता है, उस ज़मीन की तबाही और बर्बादी होती है और फिर वो कई सालों तक वहाँ आप कुछ उगा नहीं सकते।
The region also faces challenges in terms of emergency response capabilities of essential aid and medical assistance to those in need. Poor infrastructure hampers the timely deployment of emergency services, evacuation efforts, and delivery of relief supplies. Over the years, administrative inefficiencies and corruption have marred the development in the region. Additionally, POGB historically has no autonomy, which further affects local decision making and resource allocation in the region.
In the remote Thana Mandi block of Rajouri district, the National Rural Livelihood Mission is making a profound impact. Several skill development schemes offered by the government are empowering women in the area and transforming them from homemakers into successful entrepreneurs. The initiative has brought about a remarkable shift, fostering self-sufficiency and happiness among rural women of Kashmir. Take a look.
Nestled in the heart of the Pir Panjal mountain range, Thana Mandi block is one among the remotest areas of Rajouri district in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Reaching the last mile to provide services to every Indian citizen, the government's National Rural Livelihood Mission (NRLM) is now transforming lives of women in the hilly terrains of Thana Mandi block. Thanks to the NRLM's Udyam Mitra Excellence in Entrepreneurship Development or UMEED scheme, the women in the area are no longer just homemakers but are business owners, entrepreneurs and are serving as pillars of growth in their communities.
स्कीम है, इस स्कीम में हम जुड़े हैं और हमें इस स्कीम से बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ। इस स्कीम में हमें लोन भी मिला, ग्रुप भी बने। हमें जो हमारे PRP फारूक सर हैं उनने हमारी बहुत हेल्प की। एक फारूक सर नहीं, सब PRP ने हमारी बहुत हेल्प की और हमें बहुत अच्छी तरह समझाया और सब कुछ बताया। इसमें हमने लोन भी लिया है। लोन लेके मेरी शादरा शरीफ में शॉप है कॉस्मेटिक की और उसमें मैं अच्छा बिजनेस मतलब स्टैंड हो गया हमारा और कारोबार भी चल रहा है। इस स्कीम से हमें और भी बहुत फ़ायदा है। डे बाई डे ट्रेनिंग भी होती हैं और हमें इस स्कीम से बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ।
Under the NRLM UMEED scheme, comprehensive trainings are provided to the women right at their doorsteps. Women here are equipped with all the necessary skills in various trades that further enable them to become successful entrepreneurs. These initiatives have not only provided self-employment opportunities but also instilled a sense of independence and confidence among the women.
यहाँ पे हम आए जब हमने स्टार्ट किया इस स्कीम के बारे में, उम्मीद स्कीम के बारे में, हमारी टीम्स आती रही डिफरेंट टाइम्स पे। ICRP टीम कहते हैं, उन्होंने मोबिलाइज़ किया इन लोगों को, हमारा भी साथ रहा और ये लेडीज़ जुड़े उस टाइम। इन्होंने सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप ज्वाइन किया और ग्रुप ज्वाइन करने के बाद हमें इन्हें ट्रेनिंग्स प्रोवाइड करवाई अपने डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से। उस ट्रेनिंग्स में इनको बताया गया कि आपको सेल्फ डिपेंड कैसे होना है, अपने पाँव पे कैसे खड़ा होना है। उसके लिए जो भी अगर ये काम कोई करना चाहते हैं, कोई बिजनेस करना चाहते हैं, तो उनके लिए इनको फाइनेंशियल हेल्प चाहिए। तो उस पैसे के लिए, फाइनेंशियल हेल्प के लिए हमें इनको बैंक लिंकेज करवाते हैं, हमारी डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से होता है, जो कि हम फर्स्ट डोज इनको 1.5 लाख पे देते हैं। उसमें ये खुद ही जो एक सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप होता है वो खुद ही गारंटर होता है और उसमें इंटरेस्ट रेट जो है इनको 7% पे दिया जाता है। उससे ये इनका बेनिफिट है कि कोई भी अगर बिजनेस करना है उससे ये अपना काम आसानी से खोल सकते हैं।
To support their ventures, the government also provides loans at minimal interest rates. This financial assistance helps women to start and expand their businesses, ensuring long-term sustainability. The NRLM Umeed scheme has sparked a big change in the lives of women in Thana Mandi block. From dependence to self-sufficiency and happiness, many women, after receiving training at the government centers, have established themselves as entrepreneurs in various domains. The results of government initiatives are now visible, and there is a sense of confidence and satisfaction among the rural women of Kashmir.
Now it's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We'll be back next week at the same time. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.